Hello everyone, this is Melinda Gosvig with YogaUOnline, and I'm here today with Global Family Yoga founder Mira Binzen. Mira is a yoga teacher, certified IRES Yoga Nidra teacher, and a professional integrative yoga therapist. She holds a degree in child psychology from the University of Minnesota's Institute of Child Development with specialized study in communication disorders. Later, Mira founded Global Family Yoga with her mother and sister. Global Family Yoga has been a registered school with Yoga Alliance since 2005 and was the first school registered with Yoga Alliance focused on children and families. In her work, Mira weaves together Western child development principles with Eastern wisdom for comprehensive training programs that support well-being on all levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. She blends playfulness and professionalism to provide an engaging, safe, and joyful experience for all. Welcome, Mira.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm really glad to be here and to be a part of this great program where we can get courses online. So thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, of course. I had a few questions for you today, and to start out with, I wanted to ask you, some years after completing your degree in child psychology from the University of Minnesota, you set off for India to study yoga. What inspired this trip? Did you have a sense at the time that yoga would integrate into your work as a developmental therapist, or did that come later?
Well, it was kind of two tracks. I've always been interested in India, and I've always been interested in Eastern psychology and Eastern philosophy. Like in ninth grade, I was reading books by Ram Dass and studying yoga as a philosophy. And so I always had a call to go to India. I'm not sure exactly where that came from, but I know it was there for a long time. And then concurrently, I was studying child psychology and child development. And it was while I was in India that the two really came together in my mind. I was practicing yoga for my own interest as I was traveling around India, doing this and doing that. And some pretty interesting experiences studying yoga in India, because there's no regulations over there at the time in the mid 90s. And it just really struck me hard one day. It's like, oh my gosh, all the work I've been doing with children in regards to sensory integration and helping them find balance is really inherent and integral to the practice of yoga. And it really woke something up in me this is what I wanted to do. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Great, great. And I know since your background is one of both Eastern and Western instruction, have your psychology degree and you received your yoga training from the Shiva Ananda Yoga Vedanta Center in India. Could you talk about how these different approaches inform each other? Do you feel there's a complementary relationship between these seemingly separate courses of study?
Yeah, it's interesting. The more I explore and study, the more I see how they do complement each other, but from a very different perspective. The Western perspective is of parts and pieces. We look at systems, we look at diagnoses, and we look at symptoms. And in the East, it's all one comprehensive system. And if something's going on over here, we can address it over here, and we can't ignore what's going on over here. And so it's a much more holistic perspective. A great example of this is cognitive behavioral therapy. For a child with anxiety, that's one of two options, the other being medication. Well, cognitive behavioral therapy is replacing a negative thought with a positive thought. And those of us who know the Yoga Sutras well recognize that as Pratipaksha Bhavana. So to replace the negative thought with a positive one comes from deep in the yoga teachings hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And it's being used in Western child psychology. So there are parallels. It's interesting to see how they do align. I think the big difference is, though, this, like, your child's pediatrician might never have a conversation with your cognitive behavioral therapist, whereas a yoga therapist is looking at all five koshas, all layers of the human experience, the physical body as well as the mental body. So even though a child might be experiencing anxiety, we're certainly going to want to address the physical body as well.
That makes a lot of sense. So I understand that you, along with your sister and your mother, founded Global Family Yoga, which offers workshops and classes for children and their families, as well as children's yoga certification programs for teachers. Could you talk a little bit about what inspired you to start Global Family Yoga?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. It's just my mother, Cheryl, and my sister, Stephanie, and I. It's just the three of us that run Global Family Yoga and always has been, and we've never lived in the same city doing that. And so we all three found ourselves wrapping up our certain area of work at the same time, and we all came together sort of with the what's next. And in spending time together, we realized that we wanted to really make a difference in the world, supporting families experience well-being. And so it's a way for our family to reach out and support the global family. So it really is a labor of love. It's a family-run business. Global family yoga has a lot of connotations in that we teach yoga to families, and we're a family-run business. And we recognize families are under a lot of pressure today, and yoga is a fantastic practice because it's accessible, it's easy enough to do, and kids really enjoy it. It's something that they can take personal pride in doing. You know, it's like, this is my thing and I get to do it. And so we just really wanted to help the whole world be more connected and calm.
That's wonderful.
Big mission, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So have you seen any particular ways in which you feel that yoga uniquely benefits kids?
Yeah, so many ways. I think one of the most significant ways is that, and I've had kids come up to me after a yoga session and just be like, thank you so much, because kids recognize when they're out of balance. They recognize when their energy doesn't match the situation. It's either too high or too low, or off in many different directions at once. What they don't know is how to bring themselves back into balance. So when they have that experience in yoga of applying a technique, for example, a hand gesture or a mudra, or going through the guided relaxation, and then they feel that sense of balance, it's like, wow, I know how to do this for myself from the inside out. So it's very empowering for children to learn that they can simply put their hands into a certain shape at any time during the day and find a sense of balance or rein their energy back in. So I think one of the greatest benefits is that children feel empowered to practice it and experience the benefit of practicing it.
What would you say is the most common issue children and families come to you with?
I would say it's anxiety in one form or another. I feel like stress and anxiety is a continuum, and some stress is good. Stress, another way to talk about stress is pressure. You know, we need a little pressure to get out of bed in the morning. Too much pressure and things start to break down. And so this stress anxiety continuum, I think, is certainly a part of every imbalance a child is facing today. There's very few kids who would want to seek out support for something and not also be dealing with some level of stress and anxiety. So I think it's a pretty big issue for kids. The government puts out studies like the NIH and the CDC, and they estimate that 20% of children in America today, school-age children, are experiencing anxiety and have been diagnosed with anxiety. But what I see, and what other parents probably will recognize, it's up to half the kids in school today are dealing with anxiety. So it's a pretty big issue.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is it often families that have those high level of anxiety and that high level of stress that end up coming to you? Or do you see other families as well in your practice?
Yeah, I mean, not everybody is totally stressed out. There's the other half of the group, and they are anything from kids dealing with a congenital condition like Down syndrome or cerebral palsy, where obviously yoga is not going to treat or cure it, and it can really do a lot to support an experience of well-being. It can always improve the quality of life because you feel more comfortable in your body, because you have better motor coordination, because you have a greater sense of calm, and all of that. That can help regardless of what else is going on. I work with a lot of families who are just interested in being as healthy and as well as they can be in a preventative way too.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So before founding Global Family Yoga, you worked as the training director for Yoga Kids International and also as a yoga therapist with the integrative medicine program at the Minneapolis Children's Hospital. Both of these programs and with your work through Global Family Yoga, what kind of results have you seen with the families and the kids that you work with?
It's hard to say because kids are developing and they're growing anyways. And so when I work with a kid over time, I think, wow, look at all they can do. We don't know if they could have done that without the yoga therapy. So it's hard to say. My feeling is, and what parents report and what kids report, is that a greater sense of ease and connection and calm. According to yoga, the one single cause of all dis-ease is a lack of connection, this misapprehension that we're separate. And that feeling of separation shows up in any disease or condition or imbalance that you could name. And so yoga definitely can help to resolve that feeling of separation. And I would say that's probably across all the things that I've done, that combination of feeling calm and at ease and feeling connected.
So in addition to working with the children, you work with families specifically and also adults. Do you see any particular results? I know it's hard to say, as you mentioned, the kids are developing so fast, but do you see results for the families as a whole as they start to work with programs?
What I see with families is a reorganization of priorities because we're living this progress myth where no matter how much we get done, we always feel like there's more to do. It's a endless cycle of, chasing the carrot or whatever that is. And when we talk about the philosophy of yoga, and also when we just give people time to be quiet and be still, this deeper truth starts to bubble up and people start making different choices in their life. So it's not like, oh no, I have to get rid of this and I have to start doing that. Things that no longer serve naturally fall away, and things that promote well-being are naturally more appealing, and families choose to spend more time doing that kind of a thing. So that's the biggest benefit or improvement I see, is that families just start to live more of a yoga lifestyle, is what I call it. Yoga is so much more than the group exercise on the yoga mat. And that's what I really want to share with kids and families, is the lifestyle that comes from a life of being more connected and having more awareness.
So the tools that you offer, are they mainly for yoga teachers, would you say, or and therapists, or could parents learn to use the yoga tools that you work with to work with their own kids as well, for example, to calm hyperactive children?
Yeah, the people that come to our trainings and workshops are definitely parents. We get a lot of parents. Sometimes they're parents and have another kind of a job. Oftentimes they're parents also who are school teachers, yoga teachers, occupational therapists. We get a mix of pediatric professionals like school counselors and social workers, yoga teachers who want to specialize in working with kids, and a lot of parents. Our student population tends to be almost all women. We have had a few guys come through our program, and I would say half to two-thirds are parents as well. And a lot of them are parents, and also we get a lot of grandparents who want to come and share the practice of yoga with their grandkids. So it's nice to have that multi-generational support for them.
Yeah. So you have a course coming up with YogaU, Yoga for Stable and Calm Kids, which we're very excited about. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you'll be covering in the course?
Yeah, the idea is based on the 5 elements, and I teach this to kids all the time. I say you and everything around you is made up of these 5 elements of earth, being stable and solid, and water, being connected and being creative and being in the flow, and fire, that power and will to act, and air, the connection, and then spaciousness, being a part of all that is. So I explain that to kids all the time. And this course, Stable and Calm Kids, really looks at the need for that earth element, being stable and grounded. So much of what goes on with kids today is a result of them not being stable and not being grounded. Certainly things like anxiety, attention and focus issues, and other distracting behavior has at its core a lack of stability in the body and in the mind. So we're going to look at all kinds of practices that we can do to support a child feeling stable, earth, calm, connected. And so example is a child who can't focus at school might not be because their energy is too high. It might be because they don't have a strong core. It's kind of a vague and not scientific term, but so when we help kids develop more core strength or abdominal strength through yoga postures such as the boat pose and plank pose, all of a sudden they're better able to focus and pay attention. So we're going to look at the postures from yoga, breathing exercises from yoga, plus a lot of lifestyle adaptations that people can do to help children experience that sense of stability.
Great. Thank you so much, Mira. We're looking forward to the upcoming course, and thank you for your time here today with us.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to it as well.
Have a great day.